certified. Oh, got it. I'm a certified and trained accountability and performance coach. And I was talking to the team this morning and I was saying, you go along one step, and you focus on this. But this whole series that we are kind of rolling out and chatting with you about is called 6 Steps to Six-Figure Profit. And so at the end of the day, we're on step 4 tonight, and it's easy to get, kind of dialed into one, but make sure that you pull out and look at all 6, because all 6 steps are where they're going to get you that success, right? They're all individually important, but together they're very powerful. And I know that we get people who come in and come out. All of the recordings are on that Inner Circle link, so you can go back and listen again or go listen to the ones you missed. But I just can't say enough that if you put all these 6 pieces into play, I think you will exponentially grow your business.
Yes, thank you for starting with that, because we discussed it this morning, and in the heat of the day, I'd already kind of forgotten to lead with that. But it is a whole inclusive process, all the way from getting your leads on a regular basis, making sure that they're good, that they have a profit margin in there for you, all the way to tracking the income that's coming in and making sure that you schedule things out to get paid on a regular basis and everything in between. And so, as you mentioned, we're kind of on the in-between one this month with today's topic. So let me get us shifted over to the PowerPoint.
What up, Nicole and Sydney?
Hey, what's going on?
Great to see y'all.
All right.
And we brought Tyrone on this was it was the end of last week.
Yeah.
Onto Inner Circle, so that's good. Awesome. Welcome in, Tyrone.
Glad
you're joining us, Tyrone.
We're gonna have lunch with Tyrone one day.
That's right.
We all have.
Keep hearing that.
We have crazy schedules.
If you do it when I come, I can go too.
We'll see what we can do. Okay. So is the screen share working?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We show this screen here just as a reminder of what our purpose is as a company. So as you'll see, it doesn't say anything there about making loans. Even though we do make loans, that's how we fulfill our company purpose. But our purpose is to help our clients achieve financial freedom and security. That's one reason why we have calls like this. We could just make loans like a lot of the big, huge national companies and not really put any effort into helping you guys. But we want to see you all be successful, and we have we've got a lot of collective experience and background within this group, but also all the history of the hundreds of loans that we've closed brings a lot of information to the table too. So that's what we're about here. And the reason we take time to come together like as a group like this, we want to help make sure that your business is not hit or miss. So as Julia mentioned, the whole process is there to help. We can help each other stay on track and follow the process. The Inner Circle Facebook group can be really helpful for that. Put in any questions out there, and then just putting accomplishments out there. I know one thing Parker's going to do through the flow of this is challenge you guys for some accountability a little bit later. We can definitely help with that. And then networking, right? There's every month we have some people that are here every month, and every month we have new people joining in. So whether it's people that you meet and get to see a little FaceTime with on this meeting, or you see someone here and then you follow up with them on that Inner Circle page, networking is tremendous. Just the things that can come from that can be phenomenal when you network with a good group of people like this. Our agenda for today, just this welcome and introduction time, take about 5 minutes, then get into the heart of it with our step 4 today on the 6 steps to six-figure rehab profits, and then just a short time to wrap up at the end. So it's 90% content. So for anyone new in the room, which I know we we have some that's your first time on here today. Just know, as Julia mentioned, tools from the previous 6 steps, recordings from the calls, which would explain how to use those tools and what they're about. Those are available on the Inner Circle webpage. Near the end, we're going to show you the link and also a thing that you can scan to go straight to that page. You can connect, and we highly encourage you to connect with our Facebook group. And information on how to do that is going to be near the end as well, so you can interact with the group. We would encourage you, when you get into that group, just share your name and city where you're investing, so that people will know and they'll be able to help you, for exactly which city you're in. And then just in it, like it's that number 4 says, you can share anything you need help with there. Or if you got something helpful, like I know we're going to have some new pitfall videos coming out, right, team? We've had some interesting occurrences coming up in the past 4 to 6 weeks with things that were holding up closings and just off the wall stuff that you just have to, you wouldn't think it could happen, but we see it happen, and we want to put it back out there for you guys as pitfalls to avoid, because prizes definitely come up in real estate investing. So Parker and Tanner, for those of you who are on here for the first time, this accountability section, Parker and Tanner laid out a few months ago. They were kind enough to put their whole portfolio of rental properties out there. They showed you the analysis they did, some things they decided to get rid of, some things they decided to keep. And so after that, they've been giving us some brief follow-ups with how it's going with the action items that they learned from putting their business out there, right, for this community to kind of help hold them accountable.
Yeah, that's right, Ray. And I appreciate it. And so, like what Ray talked briefly about starting the meeting, is we want this group to be about accountability, because we can put together this meeting and we can meet monthly and we can go over, different topics and we can share some knowledge. But if none of the group takes action, none of it is going to be worth anything. We've got to get out there and take action. And so we want y'all to take action, and we want to be accountable to you guys, and y'all can be accountable to us. And so, again, what Ray mentioned, we're not like a big private money lender, national money lender that's just pushing loans through. We do real estate ourselves. Ray has bought and sold a bunch of real estate. Julia has bought and sold a bunch of real estate. Tanner and I have acquired some rental properties over the last couple of years. And so we're in the weeds with it with you guys. And so the last couple of months, we've been specifically sharing an accountability update with our process and kind of where we're moving to. And so I'm going to challenge one of you guys at the end to maybe get on here next month and share some of accountability, what actions you're taking, what steps you're taking to get your next deal, what you're doing to source something, how you're changing your processes to get better. So briefly, since last month, Tanner and I met. So you can see there, we continue to meet 2 times a month. That was sourced from last year, where we just were running and gunning and didn't have any meetings. And then we looked up 12 months down the road and we're like, we've got to change some things. Like, things are not as going as well as we thought they were. And so that's why we decided to meet. And so what came out of this meeting a couple weeks ago was, hey, we just submitted all of our books and all of our taxes to our accountant, who happens to be my wife. My wife is a CPA. It's a blessing and a curse. She's really helpful, but she doesn't give me any family discounts. It's kind of ridiculous. But so Tanner and I have about 10 or 11 properties, a good sized portfolio, but not huge. And so we did our 2022 taxes, and with that comes a tax bill from the accountant, right? Well, that tax bill was $4,500. That's not us paying taxes or anything like that. That's just, hey, that's what our accountant charged us. Well, digging through it, we figured out, of that $4,500, that's expensive for 10 properties. Like, what's going on there? So digging deep into it, we realized, hey, more than half of that bill comes from just reconciling books, like bookkeeping. So we didn't do any of that during 2022. So we send all of our stuff to the accountant. She's got to go through 12 months of reconciliation. And so what we're doing now is she's like, hey, if you guys will just get a bookkeeper, pay them 50 to $100 a month just to reconcile each month, to keep it up to date, so that everything's perfect when we send them to the accountant during tax season. It's going to reduce her hours that she has to do to figure out, how much depreciation we have, all the tax benefits that real estate provides you. So if we send her clean books, reduces her billable hours. So, and then we can probably cut that $4,500 bill into a third of that. So that was cool. So if you're not updating your books and you got a lot going on, that'll save you some money. So y'all look out for that. And again, like I said, we're meeting a couple times a month. Here's another thing. We have one property in Tuscaloosa that we're going to sell. The tenant just moved out. We're selling it solely for the fact that we need to replenish some funds in our operating account and make us whole, get us in a good, healthy liquidity position. A bad part about that is we had a great property manager in Tuscaloosa. Well, they just sold their company to a national property management firm called Pure Property Management. Well, just like you guys probably know, and again, it's like working with small companies that know who you are, that you have relationships with, is so important, because now they've sold their company. I don't know who's running it. I'm trying to get keys. The tenant moved out May 21st. I'm trying to get keys back so I can get in there, do an inspection, which they've done, but like I just need to get the keys so I can go in there and go, okay, hey, what do I got to do to get this on the market to sell to a retail buyer? Well, it's been like pulling teeth trying to get in touch with someone who's this big firm. I've emailed, I've called, I can't get responses on time. Anyway, working through that, like hopefully I can get the keys tomorrow. But my point there is big companies cause frustration and changes. So just be aware of that, like who you're working with. We didn't have control. They sold their company. That's fine. But like I'm having a pain point of just trying to get the dang keys back to get my own property back to sell it. That's why I like working with people who I know and who I have relationships with. Me personally, the only deal that I've done so far in 2023 is acquired a rental house in my own neighborhood, a good little neighborhood in Tuscaloosa that I'm currently just finished the rehab on. And I'm going to refinance and hold as a rental for my son, and condense the payments to 17 years so that when he's 18, he'll have a free and clear house that we'll call his purpose fund, that he can either go to college with, buy more real estate, refinance it, do whatever. Hopefully he'll start a business and buy more real estate. But that's where I'm at. I think it's going to be a pure burr. I'm going to be able to pull out all the funds out of it and plus some probably. However, the interest rate's going to suck. Not going to lie there, but it's a good little project. I'm excited about it. So that's the update for me. Again, we want to produce this accountability update and hold everybody accountable. And so I would love to have a volunteer to do it next month. Trinice, I know you're starting to get started and looking for properties. I know you've been really analyzing a bunch. What you up to?
I have. Tomorrow I'm meeting with a title company. We do have a rapid fire wholesaler, and I signed a contract. Contract fell through, so now I'm looking at wholesaling to myself, which I really didn't want to do. I wanted to just get in and burst something. But tomorrow I'm meeting with a title company to work with, and still looking for my first firm.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, I will note that, and I'll come back next month and ask you kind of how it's been going.
By all means, hold me accountable.
All right. I love it. I know Nicole and Sydney are doing a lot of stuff. Now, I don't want to come in here and ask if you went to the casino by now and in July, but I will ask you some real estate questions. Because you just finished up a project, you got to find your next one, huh?
Well, no, we actually have several in the area, but we're always looking. So we've been thinking about getting in contact with some wholesalers and seeing what else is out there. But of course, we still have ours that we can decide on which one. We have about, how many we got? About six left that we've already acquired. We just kind of take our time and decide on which one at what point is the better one to rehab, and that's where we are. Like you said, we have one that y'all visited on the market. It went on the market Thursday at midnight.
Yeah.
And our realtor had an open house this weekend. So, and back to your first question, I will be in Vegas tomorrow.
That's right. Hey, we sending the good vibes your way.
Hey, amen.
We trying to get some more down payment money to buy more houses.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we are with that. But we definitely are interested in some additional, some wholesalers and looking at some different properties. We're open to that.
Awesome.
As a matter of fact, I think that we're gonna do a lot of that while we're out of town.
Awesome.
And see which one we're gonna either we're gonna start looking for other properties or decide we're gonna do one of our own.
Good.
And we got Mike Brown on the call tonight too. He's an investor friendly agent. So Mike, if you got anything you want to float over, just know Sydney and Nicole are looking in Birmingham. Bernice, I guess you're in.
Thank you.
Bernice, are you in Montgomery? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
in Montgomery.
Gotcha. I just wanted to see if that connection was there for Mike, but
Yeah, we
so-
don't discriminate. We'll go 48. We'll go to 48 states if need be, but you know, we're on that paper chase. So
Yeah.
well, I know
just
y'all
throwing it out there.
For any wholesalers.
That's right. Well, we'll circle back and we'll follow up with you guys next month and see kind of where things are shaking up.
Okay, great.
All right. Got 2 to follow up with next month. All right. Well, if we got time at the end, we might do some more check-ins, but let's make sure we get into our topic for tonight. As Julia mentioned, this thing that we're doing for these 6 months here is for hitting a 6-figure income. The steps work together. So some things to remember: if we're going to hit a 6-figure income as rehabbers, we need both a plan and a system. What's the difference? Well, a plan says, here's where I'm going. A system tells you how to get there. It's like the map, right? So the plan is the destination, where I want to be. The system helps you get there, and then just hoping to hit your target doesn't work. It's those two things together. And then if you've got a plan and you got a system, you got to have a team of key players. That leaves you as the leader of that professional team of people, and you find ones who are great at what they do. And we're helping put a pro team together for people in each city. So that's another value add that we're bringing to the table from our team. And finally, as that leader, you want to be the CEO of your business. So you've got to take care of both the business side and the real estate investing side. The reason it says at the bottom is to not just be the contractors, because in the years of doing this, where we've seen people stumble so much, they were out in the field all of the time being the rehabber there, and they let the business side of things go. And that caused them some of the biggest pain and ultimately failure, because they were ignoring one side of their business, right? You got to have the business side, you got to have the product side, which in this case are the rehabs. And what we find people typically do is gravitate to the real estate side and not take care of the business side. So we want to both encourage you in this group to do that, but also give you tools and training that will help you to do that. So in our 6-figure rehabbing system, we are all the way up to step number 4. And as you can tell from the image there, project management is a piece of it. So what this step is about is finishing your projects on time and on budget. If a 4-week rehab turns into a 4-month rehab, that's not going to be as successful of a project as you wanted it to be. That's not going to be the recipe for a 6-figure income at this. and then staying on budget, right? You all start with the scope of work. You start with the budget you think you're going to need. Sometimes when people are newer at this, or even if they've been at it for a while, but they haven't been kind of correcting and improving their processes along the way, they end up blowing out the budget at the end of every project. So on time, on budget, very important for hitting a six-figure income. So our pro tool, so we again, not only do we want to have a topic for you guys, but we want to be able to provide a tool for you. So today it's 5 key steps of project management. So I hope you're as excited about project management as we are in putting this material together and bringing it to you, because project management, that's where it happens, right? That's the rehab coming to life there, and doing that well is just so critical to making the kind of profits that you want to make. So pro tool number 1, and we really want this to be interactive. So as I introduce some of these, we want to hear from you all about if you've had that experience, if you've maybe implemented the thing that we're saying, or if you have some other ideas to go along with it. So first, making sure you evaluate the property well before you buy it. So the first tip within this one is to make sure that your scope of work does include all of the necessary repairs. Some things like mold, right? Sometimes mold can be behind the wall. Sometimes it can be above the ceiling. Sometimes you see it. Sometimes it's out in the obvious, but sometimes it's up underneath. If you have a crawl space house, it can be on the underside. It can be on the framework down there. So mold, structural damage, termite damage. There are a lot of things that can be hard to see. And then your budget that you thought was $30,000 turns into $50,000. So I've got a little line up there that says our budget tool helps with this. Parker sends that out at the beginning of every project. And so it does serve as helping you get the right price, but because it's laid out from top to bottom, from demo all the way down to finishing out your punch list, it also serves as a checklist to kind of help make sure you're not overlooking some key things. I know we could tell a lot of stories of things that were missed in people's budget, but anybody got any thoughts or comments on that one?
I have a case study. Some of y'all may have heard it before, but I bought a lake house that I now operate as a short-term rental, and did everything to the house and never touched the septic tank. And the septic tank had field lines failing, and then my soil did not perk, so I can't just replace the field lines. And then, with a short-term rental, I've added another bathroom and I've added a bedroom. And so I have been dealing with this problem for over a year. So that's just one of those things. It's like you may not think about, but get it checked out, add it in your scope of work.
I have one more quick example from Birmingham. I just closed. It's been a few months ago, but an investor bought a property. I was on the buy side and then on the sell side when he finished. But the ductwork for the AC had deteriorated and was basically non-existent. It was in the attic. The sad part about it, which probably lines up with your point, is he didn't go in the attic to look at it on his walkthrough. We're used to doing cash offers, no inspections, but that includes a quick walkthrough, and he just missed it. Cost him about $8,000 to replace those ducts. Pretty painful for him.
Yeah.
Yep. Really good one. Thanks for that. There's just to throw in maybe another one that's a little different, because y'all gave 2 really good and different angles on this. I know we funded one, gosh, it may have been a year ago now. And at the end of the day, they got part of the way through the project and then just decided to sell it for what they could get out of it, because there was some structural damage there that they hadn't accounted for up front. And actually, I think you may remember better than me, Parker. I think they came out at a little bit of a loss on that.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a loss. Yeah.
They had done some I'm not sure if they'd done a lot of improvements. I think they had some trees cut and some demo.
Yeah.
They demoed out a lot, but
But the biggest thing with them too is like not a lot of people that I think, Ray, they maybe net lost $5,000 maybe. And that's a good chunk of change, but it didn't take into account the energy that they spent going through it. And these were out of state. They would fly in, they did a lot of the work themselves. And so there was just a lot of wasted time.
Yeah, I guess the one I would add to that before we move on, if, you know, as you grow, you probably have the chance of not being on these projects as much as maybe you were up front. So as you begin to lean on other people to do some of these things, make sure you send them out with a checklist, right? So a couple of slides earlier, we talked about processes and systems or plans and systems. So along with systems, you get checklists. So like that example Mike gave before, if you send somebody in to check things out and you give them a checklist, make sure you look at the wiring, right? Because if they don't look and it's got the old glass fuses, screw in jobs versus breakers, you're not going to sell that today if it's not been updated. And if they overlook that, then, you know, there's a few $1,000 potentially with wiring. I know from my own experience, when Gail and I were hands-on rehabbing, we bought a house and didn't realize there was some mold up underneath, and we had to have it encapsulated at the end, and that was pretty expensive. So having a good checklist so that whether it's you, and even if you run through it quickly, maybe you're pretty good, but you were in such a hurry, you're trying to go off of memory, having a checklist for that inspection. And again, I don't want to say our scope of work completely replaces a checklist, but if you don't have one yet, it's a good place to start.
And Ray, real quick, I think you made a really good point. As individuals start to level up and they're doing more and more, you may not always be the person that walks to the property, or you might be an out-of-state investor relying on other people, or just doing stuff long distance. Tyrone, if you're listening, I love to get your input on it. I know for those of you who don't know, Tyrone does a lot of flips in Mississippi, and he's moving to the Alabama market as well. Tyrone, how do you utilize people that you're relying on to do scope of work or walkthroughs to help mitigate things that you don't want to miss, or catch things that are maybe be a problem?
Yeah, Parker, thanks. This is some pretty powerful stuff that you guys are talking about. What I typically do to mitigate from those type of risks, I have somewhat of a competitive advantage because I'm also a licensed home inspector for the state of Mississippi and Alabama. And inside of my home inspection software, I've created a customized checklist for my contractors to go by that basically covers the important elements that would be important to me as a residential redeveloper or a house flipper. And as long as they cover all of those key areas along with pictures and observations, then we can make an informed decision on whether or not we're going to repair that, we're going to replace that. And then from there, when we're doing our takeoff material list and creating our budget, we can kind of prepare for that. And then also just have a contingency budget in place for those things that we could not see.
Good stuff. Thank you, Tyrone. That's awesome.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, a little bit of an advantage there, but wow, what you're doing is powerful and something that other people can recreate. Thank you. Great insight. Thank you. The other piece of this, and we're still just on step one, but like the 1B here is get bids on your scope of work to have a very good understanding of your true budget requirements. The more and more you do this, the more you're going to have the right feel for what it will cost. But if you're building new relationships, and we're going to talk about, you know, your contractor team in a moment, but once you know them and you know a certain price on painting per square foot, or if you can get into a kind of a cost for your HVAC unit, if you have to put a new unit in or something, you'll start getting a feel for that. But if you're not at that point yet and you're just trying to wing it, and I know there's people on this call today. I'm saying you may not be there, but there's going to be other people watching this recording later. So for the benefit of all, if people are a little bit newer, make sure that you're getting some good bids on that. And that's going to be a best practice that carries over throughout, but you will start to develop a good understanding of what things should cost if you're the one doing the walkthrough.
Well, and it's really just about having that habit of doing that for every property that you're even considering. I remember back in our very first real estate, training, the different ones we went to, people who were basic beginners, one of the recommendations was Home Depot has a tool online that will show you, you can go plug in your square foot, how much paint and that type of thing. I know it's not as fleshed out as Tyrone's, but you got to start somewhere. Start with a checklist, get those numbers, make it part of your evaluation practice. You'll be grateful later on when if something happens that you miss.
Yes. And the better you get with your budgeting, the better you're going to get on that tool that we had on our second step where you're doing the max offer tool. The better your accuracy on your budget, the more dialed in that's going to be, the better your offer is going to be.
Yeah.
So,
If I could add in there too, Ray, not to
go
too long, but Tyrone hit on an important thing, which is the contingency. I would scope this thing out, get your bids, get your quotes, and then just throw 10% contingency on top of that. When you're doing renovations on existing buildings, you just don't know what's behind those walls, and you're going to find out. You want to have some cash to be able to react quickly, so you don't have to get money from somewhere that it shouldn't be at a more expensive rate. So I would do that instantly. And then also if you're not the expert on whatever you're looking at, don't act like you are the expert. Bring someone with you who is. Let the contractor give you the quote on the different systems, put it in their contract that they're responsible for evaluating it during the walkthroughs. So that way you can push that liability onto them if they're willing to accept it. So you're a project manager. You're not the expert at everything. Use your resources.
Yeah,
I agree.
great insights.
And one point to add on that, because Tyrone brought it up, and I've been guilty of this, not getting home inspections before buying properties. I think going forward, I'm going to get a home inspection every single time. And I know that takes time, but again, if you build a relationship with someone who's they can get out there the next day, that is so crucial and important. And especially if you're new, get the home inspection, pay for it.
Home inspections are very important. I've started doing that for, of course, all of my properties, but there are other friends of mine that are investors in my local area, and they'll hire me. They'll say, hey, don't worry about the cosmetic stuff because we're going to change all of that anyway. And as a home inspector, we typically for investors do what's called a 4-point inspection, which is a condensed version of a regular home inspection where we focus on the key components of the property, roofing, structural, plumbing, electrical, heating and cooling, those high ticket items that can really be a surprise expense if they are overlooked, so things of that nature. So that is an option that I utilize for myself, even though I am a licensed home inspector. I know a lot of inspectors in the area, and I'll just pay them for a partial third-party unbiased look at the property and go based on their advice.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, that's more great input because that's going to save time as well if they're just focused on the major systems of the house, because they're not going to be waiting for the dishwasher to run a cycle. They're not going to be maybe going and doing all the things that a full-blown inspection would do. That would be more time consuming. Excellent. The other piece that we have on here is ahead of time, you want to know, we've been talking about the rehab cost, but also your buying costs and your carrying cost. So if you're gonna finish it on budget, you have to factor all of those things in for your project. So again, as you see in the parentheses there, the max offer tool that you guys all have access to, and the training for how to use that tool, it is on the Inner Circle website. So knowing your numbers and as much as you can know ahead of time. And then the last one for this slide, if it's your first or second deal, increase that contingency amount. So Tanner threw out a good number, and that is our standard 10%. In fact, when people try to float a budget by Parker on the way in, when he's quoting a deal, if he sees no contingency in there, he's going to add one.
Yeah, what I do for our borrowers, when I send them the rehab budget, I already put their 10% contingency in there. So it's already in there when I send it out.
Yep, great stuff. So again, if people are watching this and they haven't done many deals, you may need to go with the 15% right off the bat, just because what the unknowns for you are going to be greater. You know, and if it's a bigger rehab budget, you may need a little bit more contingency, because there's the simple rehabs and then there's the heavy rehabs. All right. So kind of moving on to a different piece of it. So this would be as you're closing, right? The other one was kind of your pre-inspection and knowing you got all your numbers right as you go into the project. Here we're talking about the timeline. So back to that contractor relationship piece again, getting buy-in on the timing from your contractors. How long is it going to take to knock out the plumbing? How long is it going to take to do the HVAC part? And then having them lined up and ready to start as soon as you close. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But if you're going to be providing some of the materials yourself, having them there when they need it, right? So there's a caveat with that one though. You don't want them there too early. So if you're going to supply the cabinets yourself, and that's coming in week 4, you don't want to bring those week 1 and have them be in the way, have a chance of getting damaged, or heaven forbid, they walk off the job site. So you want to have the materials there and ready when people need them, but just not too soon. At the front, like, and let me say this, some of these points, we have a lot of different factors bringing together the ideas from these tools. One of them is all the deals that we've done collectively, us, Parker, Julia. When you put those together, that's quite a few deals. The hundreds that we funded are a piece of it, but then Tanner, like, he's a professional project management person himself. He put in some good tips here. Some of the other people that we've worked with in this community, Jason is that's his degree, is construction management. So we've got a lot of good people putting good ideas into this. And one of them, a guy named Scott Deaton that we did a recorded call with, the way he intrigued me with was, he said, I always have people in and out in 4 weeks on my rehabs. They're done. And I'm like, how do you do that? And he started explaining some things. And this was one of them right here, having the utilities on, demo crew set up and ready to go. It sounds like simple, but are you doing it? Are you actually doing that? So what he said was, when this comes time for closing and his closing's done, he's knocking out these next steps. He's making sure that things are ready to go with the utilities, whatever's needed. He's got that dumpster sitting there ready to go. His demo crew is ready, to start. If he's closing in the morning, he's probably got demo going that afternoon. If he's closing in the afternoon, he's got demo starting up the next morning. If there's permits that you need right off the bat, so you may not need your deck permit or maybe some of the other things right at the beginning, but whatever you need, everything else, having that ready to go right away is key for keeping your project moving quickly and keeping things on time. Here's one that I'm guessing a lot of people don't do yet. So I'm hoping this one right here is going to be a big aha for people. Having a rehab calendar for the timeline, and then having it on site or taking it on site with you. So some people might like to actually post it and leave it there. and mark it off as you're getting things accomplished. Some people might want to come and bring it for their meeting with their contractors or their subs. But like if it's going to be a 4-week project, having it all laid out on the calendar week by week so that you know what the expectation is. And again, like our first thing says up there, you get the buy-in on the timing, right? I'm not saying you come into this, you make up your calendar, and then you tell the contractors, here's what it's going to be. They need to say, yes, they can do it in that allotted time or not, if you really want to stick to your project. But that calendar is a very powerful thing, and one that I know most successful project managers are using. It goes hand in hand with this other bullet point. So if you're doing that calendar week by week, you can start to really see then when things are getting off track. It's not a gut feel of it's on track or not. You can literally see on that calendar if you're starting to get off track with things, and then it helps you to make your adjustments quickly. So you're not waiting until you're, a couple of weeks off track and then trying to go make either contractor adjustments or supply chain adjustments to get things taken care of. You can really see it kind of day to day if you're getting off track and make some adjustments there. Again, it's not just one thing off of this list, it's putting these things together that's going to make the difference for you. All right, our next tip up here is we've been talking about these contractors. Now we're saying it's time to be intentional to build a good team of contractors and good relationships. So having a main person for each trade, but here's the other key, and this is one thing that I already knew, but Scott really said it well about having that backup in place, having them there and having a good relationship with both so that if one person is out, you got the next one that can step in and take that project forward. Another thing too, we're saying each trade here because I know sometimes people try to get their projects taken care of with a general handyman. What we've seen in real life is, in most cases, I won't say all, sometimes I usually hate to make blanket statements, but we'll say most of the time, a general handyman is not going to be the right fit for these rehab projects for you all who are doing multiple projects per year. With these contractors, when you're working to develop good, strong relationships here, this should go without saying, but it's not standard. When we look across the board, it's not always the case. Pay them well and pay them on time, and they'll stick with you. They will be loyal. And this is something that you can choose to do or not to do, but from what we've heard, if you offer some bonuses for finishing early, that can be, a big help to help things stay on time. So you don't want them to have any shortcuts for sure, but if you have some kind of bonus structure in place for them finishing early, can mean the difference between, getting done on time, getting done a week early, or maybe they get pulled off to another job that seems more urgent than yours. So I want to make a point here, Ray, and it's pay them. I think the biggest part is paying them on time. Yeah. A good contractor is going to know their worth. So you're going to have your bid, your scope of work already there. And I've been through a lot of contractors, and the one contractor that just finished up the son's house that I was telling y'all about earlier, I could tell just from being in real estate 5-6 years that like this guy's good, he's honest, and seeing him do work. So I went out of my way to text him like randomly and be like, hey, do you need a check? Like, when do you need your next draw? He really appreciated that. Like, and then when he said it, I'd go give him it that day, no later than the next day. But that also is we may talk about it, just having the liquidity to do that is super important, because if you give that check to him that day, he trusts you
he's wanting to do better work. And so when we finish up the project, he comes to me randomly. He's like, "Hey, when are we doing the next one?" But he knows he's going to get paid and on time. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I'm glad you said it that way, because the way it's written here, pay them well. What the meaning behind that is, we can sometimes try to nickel and dime and try to always cut a deal and everything. And I'm not against cutting the deal, but if we're always trying to beat somebody down on the price instead of just pay them what it's worth, let them do a good job, and bring them back in for your next job. You know, again, I'm not against negotiating by any means. That's kind of the heart and soul of real estate, right? Of coming to an agreement that both parties can work with. But I have seen people just constantly trying to beat their contractors down, and man, that gets old sometimes. And sometimes a good contractor will leave you because they got other jobs that pay better and they don't have to fight so much for it.
I'm always curious if anybody in this group on here tonight has offered a bonus for finishing early. I've always considered that. I've never done it. Has anyone done that in this group tonight?
Yes. Offer bonuses for finishing early, usually a tiered bonus. So, the quicker they do it, the more money they get. But then also you should have some liquidated damages on the tail end. So if they go over the schedule, you give them a grace period, but if they keep going, they should start being penalized because money's coming out of your pocket that you need to pay for. So it's kind of the carrot and the stick approach.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I've heard of those damages side, but I didn't realize how it was structured. So I appreciate that explanation of give some kind of grace period there, but if they're really just dragging it out, you can get some money back on that. Communicate well with your crews through the whole project. A lot of that will be taken care of with that calendar piece that we talked about before. But Parker gave another great example of some ways that we can communicate there. If you're doing anything with the supply chain and you're not going to be able to get the supplies there on time, that would be some other communication. If you're getting into it and you didn't get all of your permits up front, and if there's any holdup in that, just any kind of communication through there is going to mean a lot to your contractors and make it go smoother. And finally, last one for this slide, keep them as busy as possible. So we want to build loyalty and with these good relationships. So the more work they do for you, the more of that loyalty that you can build. So like Parker was mentioning a moment ago, when you have them asking for that next project and you're able to put one in front of them, it's just, it helps them stay busy, right? And keep their business going. And it's good all the way around.
Yeah.
So keeping them.
Yeah, right, like that. I would also, even if you don't have upcoming work, possibly dangle something out there, just because you want to try to turn it into a long-term game, because they might see coming towards the end of the project that they're only making 10K if they close it out, or they'll lose 20K for actually doing it. But if you can turn it into a long-term game, then they might see that they're actually missing out on more than that. So I'm not saying don't lie or anything, but if you do have other projects or you have friends who have other projects, that could be something you can use.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you're not at the level yet of being able to keep a contractor pretty busy, but if you and one of your rehabber friends, between the two of you, if you can keep a contractor busy, then that gets the same result. You both have somebody you can rely on, and between the two, you can keep the contractor busy. A great one there. Thanks for that, Tanner. Good stuff. All right. I know we don't have a ton of time left, but we got number 4 popping up here, organizing the flow of the project to be efficient. So it kind of works hand in hand with that calendar again, planning the work so that the project makes good progress, but you don't want your contractors getting in each other's way. So one of the good tips that Scott had from his experience is when you can have exterior crews and interior crews working at the same time, they're pretty much not going to get in each other's way. And as you put that together on your schedule, on your project schedule, man, you get a ton of efficiency there. So you can get sometimes 2 weeks worth of work done in 1 week. If they're working together on the interior stuff, then just making sure that, you know, the one has the time to finish up and the other one starts, or if they're working in different parts of the house and you can have a carpenter working over here and a plumber working over here, just thinking that through ahead of time. And again, having that on your schedule and having them agree to that can make these things much faster. We talk to people sometimes that have 6 or 8 week projects that really could probably have them finished up in 4 to 6 weeks if they went through all of these steps and they had the contractor relationships that we're talking about. Checking in regularly and having those progress meetings with your crew. Once a week is not good enough if you want your rehab to be motoring on and staying on track. Checking in often, I think one of the other bullet points is going to talk about that, but when you do check in, having that rehab calendar there and comparing that to the work that's gotten done and the work that's due up for that week so that you can see if you're going to be on schedule. As I mentioned earlier, that's how you can start to see if you're getting off track. And it takes, again, meeting more than once a week to make sure that that's happening.
Yeah, to that point, and I think it hits on this next bullet point, Ray, is I was listening to a Bigger Pockets podcast a year or so ago, and they were interviewing this lady. She lived somewhere out of state, but she was investing in New Orleans. She would have, it was either daily or every other day, FaceTime video check-ins with her contractor. It was that regular. Because that's, people do out of state investing all the time at a, long distance rehabs. It is doable, but 100%, it's got to be multiple times a week at a minimum.
Yeah. And sometimes that doesn't always mean you're having to really push them. Sometimes it may come to that if you see they're not doing it, but sometimes they may be at a decision point, or there's something that they're not, they're not quite sure how to proceed because they don't know exactly what you want. Something unexpected popped up, and by you checking in, you can give them feedback quickly on how you want to handle that from a cost or a aesthetic standpoint. And then this one is one I alluded to a moment ago. If your main contractor for a particular trade is not able to show up, when you have multiple contractors, or at least 2, at a minimum 2 for each of the trades, then you can call on that backup to help you stay on schedule. So again, we're talking about a roofer, plumber, electrician, your painter, your carpenter, whoever might do your structural type work, all the things that you use on a regular basis, having multiple of those. And I would literally have them in writing and have them on a list. Here's my, person for this and the backup. And then on those backups, you just got to stay in touch sometime, and you got to throw them a little bit of work sometime to keep that relationship going. All right. That has gotten us through 4 tools. Here's what I did for tool number 5. I left a TBD because I knew we would have some good conversation through this. And there's a couple of other people that I can reach out to as well, given the things that we've discussed tonight. So that's that. Again, as you see on the screen here, the power of our community working together. Those first 4 are really strong, and they are time saving. They are dollars saving. So we're going to go ahead and promote those. But this number 5, I'm going to be putting it together with other things that we gain after this call. So it'll be included. It'll be on your download that will be available. But again, I just wanted to leave some space here to bring in ideas that come out of this call and from discussions that come out of this. So we'll get all of these in writing to you all, and then that's going to be your 5 steps of project management. How can you use some of this? Well, if you're unclear on some of these steps, it sounds like a good idea. You're not sure exactly how to do it. That's where that Facebook group can come in handy. Any of these keys and all of them working together are what's going to make a difference for you. So the month of June is showing up here, staying on time and staying on budget. Just a little preview of what's ahead for next month. This whole thing is called your 6-figure income system or your 6-figure rehab system. So the next one is really where we're going to be talking about dollars. Today, we were talking about the money side of it. Yes. Where are you on your budget? Staying on budget, staying on time. But next month, we're actually going to be looking at how do you start to put all these things together to make sure that you're giving yourself every month a paycheck that's going to get you to $100,000 payday by the end of the year. So it's going to be a numbers-based one. I hope you don't shy away from that, because that's a big piece of what's going to help you make sure that you're making your 6-figure income. So that's what's next. We always like to have this slide that knowledge alone doesn't get you anything. It's the knowledge combined with the actions that you're taking that get you the results. If you're not getting the results that you want yet, you're not taking the right actions. And that's what this community is there to help you identify. Number one, where are you off track? And then what is the right step? So be thinking of an action that you're going to commit to take before our next meeting, because when we get to that accountability slide, we're going to have space there for you guys to give feedback on the things that you want to be accountable for. So here's the slide that I kind of promised up front, how to get connected and stay connected. The QR code on the screen, that will take you directly to their Inner Circle webpage. On there, you'll see a link on how to get to our Facebook group. If you're not already connected with us on Facebook, you'll have instructions there for how to get to our to the Inner Circle Facebook group. And then just our regular web page is up there. We've got a link there for get a quote. If you got a deal coming up, that is the fast way to plug in a little bit of information, and we get back with you on a term sheet. And then following us on Facebook will let us tag you in our shout out. So we encourage you, if you're not following us on our Facebook page yet, we do shout outs just like this one that you see on the screen here. And Parker has been telling me, hey, I'm ready to get my new one on there and update it. So we do these week in and week out. We're putting new projects up there as shout outs. And so when we can tag you in it, then you can share it with friends, family, customers. It's good promotional stuff for you guys. So again, it will not let us tag you if you don't follow us. So we're happy to promote you guys and help you get more deals in and help you get stuff sold if they see it and get a heads up from here. So that is going to be a wrap. I'm going to leave a space for a moment for questions. I know I've been talking a lot here, getting us to the finish line. But again, next month is going to be the topic of knowing your profits every month. So the tool for that is going to be the 6-figure budget tool. And that's going to be on second Monday, once again, July 10th, 5 p.m. Central Time. Any other questions or comments before we stop? We're right at the 6 o'clock hour, but happy to entertain questions or comments before we wrap up.
Good value add tonight. I enjoyed it.
Well, we try to be really practical with all these, but this is very practical. You know, it's hard to get more practical than saying get contractors for each of your main trades, get backups, create a schedule for your rehab. So I look forward to stories out of this of people using this and the improvements that they see, both staying on budget and staying on time. In fact, we're accountability place here. We're a community of helping each other out. I would throw down the gauntlet and say, hey, if somebody's getting ready to start a project, look at it closely and see if you can finish it a week or two ahead of what your old project management methods would have gotten you. Can you take a couple of tips out of this and turn an 8-week project into a 6-week project? We'd love to hear some stories of people coming back and sharing, what they've implemented here.
That's right. Speed is everything. You can save a lot of money on speed. Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if there's no questions that have bubbled up here, again, remember the Facebook group is there for questions. We always monitor that, and we'll be on there to answer questions quickly. Or your other peers, because sometimes we have 20, 30 people on these calls. So it's summertime. A lot of people are traveling, vacationing. Your peers are looking at that site as well. So if it's something, they may be able to answer it and give some additional insight as well compared to us. So again, we're here for your success. If you have deals, if you have anybody you want to refer, if there's anything else we can do to help you guys grow your business, we are here for you. So till next time, take care. God bless. Great to see everyone.
You guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.